Joy Reid Show. Hope you all are having a blessed Halloween. One day, theoretically, before food stamps run out, we have some breaking news on that. But I want to, before we get to the breaking news, big up everybody that's listening and watching on YouTube, on the Stack, wherever you're watching or hearing your podcast, whether that's Spotify or iTunes or wherever. Just hello to everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you. By the way, if you are interested in getting some merch, we actually, on tonight, we have a 25% discount at the shop, which is located at shop.joyannreid.com. You can also do shop.joyreid.com. You can get 25% off tonight until midnight, to the witching hour. And all you have to do is type in the code Nightmare25. Nightmare25. That's good until midnight. You get yourself 25% off if you want to pick up some merch for cheaper. Let's go ahead and get to that breaking news. A federal judge has ordered the Trump regime to release that $5 billion emergency fund that we told you guys about, that contingency fund of $5 billion that's just sitting there that they've been refusing to release, to make sure that SNAP cards do not go to zero literally tomorrow. Tomorrow is the deadline. Judge Jack McConnell writing this in his ruling, quote, "There is no doubt and it is beyond argument that irreparable harm will begin to occur if it hasn't already occurred. That irreparable harm will occur if this injunction does not pass and if SNAP benefits are not paid consistent with the mandate of Congress." This is your timely reminder that the party in power, the party that controls all three branches of government, that would be the Republicans, shut the government down. And they literally then left town. They shut the government down and they've been gone for weeks. They haven't been there. Only Democrats are actually showing up to work every day. Some of them saying they will decline their paychecks, but Republicans are collecting their paychecks. And literally, the House members aren't showing up at all because Republicans are doing this in order to try to force Senate Democrats to affirm the big, ugly bill that stripped $800 billion out of Medicaid in order to fill the giant budget hole that was left by making Donald Trump's $4.7 trillion in tax cuts permanent. So the billionaire tax cuts cost you $4.7 trillion. Those were supposed to be temporary. They were made permanent in the big ugly bill. And now what they want in this quote unquote continuous resolution, this clean CR that they keep talking about, what they're saying is they want the Senate to affirm those cuts to Medicaid, the cuts to Medicaid, $800 billion that was sucked out of Medicaid. And they want you to just continue on that spending plan and not restore the Obamacare benefits that were also cut in that bill. And the Democrats are in the Senate saying, no, you have to restore those Obamacare benefits because both were temporary, the tax cuts and the Obamacare premiums. Y'all made the tax cuts permanent, $4.7 trillion. It only cost $300 billion to make the Obamacare subsidies permanent too. So we want those extended, at least just extend them. And for that, the Republicans have said, not only are we going to shut the government down, but we're now going to stand back and let SNAP benefits go to zero tomorrow. And the administration, which is the one that can release the money. I just want y'all to be clear because Republicans are throwing a lot of sand in the works and lying to people on CNN and going on cable news and lying. The Republican White House has control of the Department of Agriculture, which has the $5 billion that they could immediately release, as this judge has ordered, so that people do not run out of food right before Thanksgiving. All right. So just want to make sure that you guys understand who is doing what to you. Hopefully they won't appeal and win and somehow tie all this up and that money will be released tomorrow. Because again, people are going to go hungry. Literally, the United States is like a human rights violator and a country that you need to send food to people from around the world. There are a lot of like jokes going around on social media, people in Africa saying, now finish your dinner. There are children starving in America. That's happening. Let me also give you guys an update on Hurricane Melissa. At least 50 people are reported dead as a result of that monster Category 5 storm that lashed Jamaica. Jamaica is now picking up the pieces after the storm. It has weakened on Friday, but it's also headed toward the Bahamas and Bermuda. This is the wreckage you're seeing on screen of a gas station in Montego Bay on Friday. Meanwhile, in human disasters on this Halloween, Jason just showed me Kristi Noem and she scared the hell out of me. Is her face going to fall off? Because she's scary. That lady, the roaming gnome, Ice Dark Barbie Kristi Noem, says that, every time I see her, that Halloween will not be a safe space for little brown trick-or-treaters this year. Kristi Noem says that the raids are going to continue in the city of Chicago. She has denied Illinois Governor Pritzker's request that she just pause the invasion of Chicago so that kids can trick-or-treat tonight in peace after her Trumpenwaffen goons tear-gassed a Halloween parade the route where a Halloween parade was about to happen in a Chicago suburb. We played you that story earlier. I've got another piece of news on that front. The spokesman for the Department of Homeland Security has now responded, "Happy Halloween," after reports emerged that the Trump goons, the Trump Gestapo, are going around in Halloween masks in Los Angeles, that they're showing up in unmarked cars wearing Chucky and Momo masks. So they're not only kidnapping and terrorizing brown people in the streets of Los Angeles, they're also wearing scary Halloween masks. And they plan to continue harassing people in Chicago tonight on Halloween night. So there you go. You're welcome, MAGA. I also want to note that the layoffs have begun. Amazon, Jeff Bezos' company, is laying off 14,000 employees. UPS has announced they're going to lay off 48,000 employees. Intel said they're going to lay off 20,000 people. And let me give you a little specific, because the Amazon CEO, his name is Andy Lassie, he said on an investor call explaining the layoffs, "Don't worry, guys, it's not about AI replacing humans or about tariffs that are wrecking small businesses. No, it's about culture." Quoting the Wrap, the piece that you just saw up there, Amazon's 14,000 person layoffs earlier this week weren't necessarily driven by financial or AI factors, CEO Andy Jassy said during the company's earnings call on Thursday. Instead, the primary motivation behind cutting the workforce was culture, he explained. Quote, "The announcement that we made a few days ago was not really a financially driven, and it's not really AI driven, not right now, it's culture," he told analysts on the call, explaining that as Amazon grew dramatically over the last few years, the company added more layers that became cumbersome to its decision-making process. When that happens, sometimes without realizing it, you can weaken the ownership of the people that you have who are doing the actual work and own most of the two-way decisions. I don't even know what he's talking about. He's saying the culture has to change, so they're getting rid of it. And you can see on screen right now, just so you know, the CEOs of these companies, here's how much money they make. Robert Reich did this post, and we're reposting it. Amazon CEO, and Mr. Lassie, who gets paid mostly in stock, like most of them do. Last year, he made over $40 million. The UPS CEO, who's about to lay off a bunch of people, he made $24 million. The CEO of Intel made $69 million. And they're laying off tens of thousands of people just before Thanksgiving. So clearly, they're not sweating the snap cutoff that's potentially coming November 1st if this judge's order does not keep going, does not go through. Now, the layoffs are also ramping up across the media. And in our next hour, we're going to bring on Reid to break down the absolute bloodbath that's happened at Paramount CBS under Nepo oligarch David Ellison and MAGA Barry Weiss. Reid's going to talk to us about that. And you won't be surprised to know what the complexion of the people are who are getting most of the layoffs. So to get back to the economic pain that Trump has inflicted on this country, while he personally is raking in crypto cash with his kids, traveling to Asia, we're in South Korea. Get this, he got an actual crown. South Korea's leader, there it is. Look, they gave him a golden crown. Oh, that's just his dream come true. When he's not doing that, he's bailing out Argentina and the hedge fund pals of his that poured money into that country. He's wrecking the East Wing of the White House, which I cannot show that picture enough. Because the construction companies that are behind that are now trying to like hide under a bushel because they don't want people to know. Because again, private industry didn't pay for that. You did to do that to your White House. And when he's not doing that, he is letting you know what he thinks of you being upset about the things he's doing. Here is, once again, the AI video showing what Donald Trump thinks of your First Amendment rights. He literally shat on them over No King's Day. So there it is. Donald Trump, who evaded the draft and is a draft dodger, put himself in a fighter jet, which he would never really do in real life because he's a physical coward, and shat on the people. And Harry Sisson, that's the president of the United States doing that, putting an AI video of himself shitting on people for No King's Day. And specifically, you saw in the front, he's targeting a 22-year-old social media influencer and political commentator named Harry Sisson, who's the guy in the front. Now, why would a 79-year-old geezer with cankles target a 22-year-old influencer with an omission from his adult diaper? I don't know. Let's take a look at one of Harry Sisson's recent posts to see what might have caused Donald Trump to be so afeared of him that he had to metaphorically poop on him. This is A8B, that video. Yeah, it's a video. It's a video of A8B.
It's 8 in the morning right now, and I just woke up to another crazy late night rant from Donald Trump. And this time, he declared that it should be illegal to criticize him. For context, Donald Trump is in Asia right now talking about his trip there, and at 3:46 in the morning East Coast time, he said, worked really hard, 24/7, took in trillions of dollars, and Chuck Schumer said the trip was a total dud, even though he knows it was a spectacular success. Words like that are almost treasonous. I don't know if Donald Trump is just really jet lagged with the time difference, or maybe he's just being his crazy self, or both. But the idea that criticizing him should be considered a crime against the United States is absolutely insane, and everything we've all been concerned about regarding his dictatorial tendencies. He also announced last night that he wants to start testing our nuclear weapons again, and not only is this an incredibly dumb idea, but it's also incredibly expensive. What happened to saving money and getting rid of fraud and the whole Doge thing? Has he just completely forgotten about all that? But yeah, this is where we're at. In less than a year of Trump's presidency, he's already at the point of declaring any critique of him treason.
And joining me now is the young man who you just saw, who was the target of King Poopy Diaper's jet plane dump on the First Amendment. Harry Sisson, thanks for being here. Good to meet you.
Hey, Joy Reid, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you. I've been such a fan of you for such a long time, and hearing you talk about this topic is just so surreal. The moment we live in, and this guy behaving in the way that he is, and he has the nuclear codes while doing all of this.
Testing nukes. This is a new thing. You talked about it in your post. I mean, the thing about it is, I'm a wee bit older than you, my friend. But I grew up at the time when we had to hide under our desks in my Denver classrooms because of the threat of nuclear, as if hiding under our desk was going to protect us from nuclear war. It was the best they could do at the time. What do you make of the fact, right, that Donald Trump is bringing back the idea of nuclear testing?
I think this is Donald Trump overcompensating again. His only goal, I think, on the world stage is to be perceived as strong and ruling over America and the entire world with an iron fist. But I think anybody who knows Donald Trump, has been paying attention to politics, can see that this is a fraud. He's masquerading, pretending to be a strong man and pretending to be macho. And he's making these threats from nuclear weapons, saying we're going to go here, go after this person, target this person, whatever. This is a very small man with a big ego, and he just likes pulling stunts like this all the time. And that's just kind of what I make of it.
What do you mean? I mean, you're studying politics and law at NYU. You're a bright young man. What do you make of the judge now ruling that they've got to release this $5 billion? I mean, just the idea that they would hesitate to release the $5 billion so people can eat like 2 weeks before Thanksgiving is shocking, but it's not surprising. Do you think this judge's order holds, or does Trump, take this to John Roberts and let John Roberts let him starve people?
I mean, look, that's always the equation that we have to consider here with the Trump administration, of course, the Supreme Court, with the way that it's currently balanced, which is we can have these judges who follow the Constitution, follow the law. And by the way, a lot of these judges are Trump appointed or Reagan appointed or Bush appointed, just following the law. And they can make good decisions such as, we don't want Americans to starve. They are entitled to these programs. They've paid into these programs. We've paid in. They deserve to have the benefits of those programs. But, it might get up to the Supreme Court, and John Roberts and Kavanaugh and Thomas and Alito might just say, actually, we like hungry people on Thanksgiving. Yeah. And, we got to expand executive power more after pretending to be constitutionalists and wanting to keep the office small. So my initial reaction is this is great. I hope it holds. I just can't wait for the headline to come out that, Donald Trump appeals ruling that gives hungry people food,
Yeah, I mean, well, Clarence Thomas will just say, let them get a billionaire patron. Why can't they just do that as I did? I neglected to ask you, just what was your actual reaction to Donald Trump targeting you specifically, but also all of our First Amendment rights in that No King's Day diaper dump?
Well, you actually just made a great point there. My initial reaction was just disbelief. I had a friend send it to me over text message, and I never get links to Truth Social. I don't know anybody that actually uses that as a platform.
Right.
And so when I saw the link, I knew something was off, and I clicked on it. And of course, there I am, along with many Americans. And it was just disbelief. I had to watch it a couple of times to process what I was looking at. But the bigger story is not me. Like, I don't, I'm in but I don't really care. It's the bigger story is the attack on the First Amendment, the obvious display that Donald Trump is making as to how he feels about dissent. I mean, this is a AI video. He's pretending to be in the fighter jet, pretending to drop feces, but I don't think anybody has any, issue in their mind or any disbelief that if Donald Trump had the opportunity, he wouldn't take it to silence these protesters. And he's already doing that in court and with these executive orders and what he's doing, targeting people who make their voices heard and then trying to get them deported. It's crazy. So I think the broader story is this is how Donald Trump actually feels about the First Amendment, it's not just some stupid AI video.
Right. And the thing is that they love to troll on the right? Trolling is their thing. But to me, the idea that Kristi Noem and her outfit would troll people in Los Angeles who are literally terrified. Look, I mean, people are scared to go to the store, to go to school. Kids are getting, getting taken down in the convenience store where they're going to get like lunch before school, and their dad arrested, like all of this. And then to have DHS agents going around in scary masks on top of it in Los Angeles is so gross. And if it isn't true, why would the DHS secretary respond by saying happy Halloween, which means it probably is true? You're somebody who's good at messaging and good at trolling the other side. What do you make of that kind of trolling from our actual federal government?
I mean, everything you just described is horrific. It's disgusting. It's stomach churning. When I open social media every day and I see either the president, the vice president, or the DHS secretary, or whoever it might be, engaging in trolling, it's hard not to be cynical. It's hard not to be pessimistic about the future of this country and seeing like what they prioritize. I'm convinced that JD Vance, for example, doesn't have a job. I'm convinced he doesn't do anything all day. I'm convinced his role in the White House is like chief troller, like owner of the libs, when it kind of backfires on him. He never really does it. But that, I think, is his role. And so it's easy to feel pessimistic. It's easy to feel down when this is the reality. This is what's happening in our streets. This is the fear that children feel while going to school, on top of the fear of, what if somebody shows up with a gun one day? But my message to folks is that, look, we have amazing people like yourself, for example, who are covering these stories and voicing their concerns and bringing the attention to the necessary issues that are taking place. And so if we stick together, if we bind together and stay strong and get out and vote when we can and make sure we're registered to vote, get our families and friends registered to vote, I think we can beat back this dictatorial regime that we're all witnessing.
Yeah, I mean, well, he has one job apparently, and this is A12 Jason. Apparently, his job is being the sort of new best friend of the widow of Charlie Kirk. This is interesting. I don't know what's happening here, but I don't know. It does feel like maybe he's trying to wriggle out of the conundrum he has with some on the far right who object to his current wife by saying maybe trade it. I don't know. I'm not accusing him of that, but it's weird.
Yeah, I saw some chatter about this on social media of, it was a little weird. The behavior was kind of strange. The body language was strange. And I got to be honest, my initial reaction was, come on. Like, maybe I think this is a little too out there, even for me. And I'm just, and then I saw some of those photos and like her hand was in his hair. And I was just like, oh, it just kind of makes you shiver a little bit,
Let's talk very quickly before I let you go. I want to talk about messaging. You're good at messaging. The Democratic Party, not so good at messaging. But here's a thing that to me seems pretty clear. Let's put this up, Jason. This is A9. The Affordable Care Act has these subsidies that allow people to be able to afford their premiums. The federal government pays for them. It would cost 0.36 trillion, meaning $360 billion to extend them. The Trump tax cuts from 2017 will cost you, your grandchildren, or maybe your grandchildren's grandchildren, $4.5 trillion. We're never going to pay that off. And then to extend them further, I'm sorry, they initially cost 1.9 trillion. I apologize. That's the yellow bar. And then the 4.5 trillion is the total cost. And the Republicans are saying the blue bar is too much money, but the red bar and the yellow bar are fine. And that is why the government is shut down. And yet, this is A10, Jason. What the Republicans are saying is no, the Democrats are the ones who are shutting the government down, not the people who control the entire government. It's the Democrats because they want to give the healthcare to illegals, which is their version of the N-word. Yeah. Why is this so hard to explain for the D side? Because it's just clear. They're like, you're just throwing the word illegals, like screaming N-word, 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 but for brown people, instead of just extending the freaking subsidies.
I need the Democrats to just get out there and pretty much explain it in the way that you just did, which was really well said, but just have some basic facts. Like one of my favorite facts in all of this is that for a family making an average salary last year in the United States, let's just say like between $50,000 and $80,000, to cover SNAP benefits for your individual cost you around $36. Not $36,000, $36 in taxes. For these corporate subsidies that we all pay, thousands of dollars for your average American family. So I need Democrats to get that out there. I need Democrats to draw the comparison, the side by side of, hey, your health care is about to go up by thousands of dollars because Republicans say it's too expensive. Your family, friends, loved ones, the kids in your school are about to go hungry because Donald Trump and his buddies say it's too expensive. But don't worry, everybody. Donald Trump has his ballroom. He has his new bathroom, the Lincoln bathroom in the White House that he bragged about today. And all of his buddies, Well, they go hang out at the White House patio that Donald Trump paved over at the Rose Garden. Just draw that comparison for me and point out the simple data that covering your fellow Americans for them to eat is actually incredibly cheap compared to what Donald Trump and them are giving out to Elon Musk and these billionaires.
It's so simple. And by the way, I call it the Epstein Ballroom, and I will never call it anything but the Epstein Ballroom, because all the same kind of people, Jeffrey Epstein, the kinds of people he liked to bribe and who liked to service, that's who's paying for that thing, right? And us, the taxpayer. And then the other piece of it is, and this is the thing that gets me, the idea that undocumented people are somehow signing up for Obamacare actually doesn't make sense. To sign up for Obamacare, you need a social security card and an ID. To obtain those illegally, you're putting a giant spotlight and Klieg light on yourself. It's as if it's the same thing as saying they're voting. You really think people are going to reveal themselves in order to like come way out of the closet as an undocumented immigrant, get a fake ID and try to sign up for Obamacare and fill out those federal forms? That doesn't even make sense. Like the fact that Republicans get away with saying that, and that the media, my unfortunate industry, can't wrap their head around the fact that undocumented people cannot get Obamacare. They'd have to reveal themselves and then they get deported. Hello?
It's so absurd. And it's laughable that they're kind of getting away with this, and people in the media, as you correctly point out, are giving them the pass. It's so easy to debunk. Even look at Snap. They claim Snap fraud. Everybody. Do you know the process to get on Snap? I mean, you have to go through an interview. You have to have all the federal documentation that you just mentioned. You got to go through all of that, and you think that somehow magically they are still frauding the system. It's so absurd.
And by the way, Harry, I'm sorry to cut you, but you know how would you defraud a system where the coupons and the EBT cards only work for food at the grocery? So you can't flip the money and go buy a car with it, or go buy you can't even buy steak with it. They prescribe what food. So you're going to defraud the system to go buy some mac and cheese.
Yeah. Well, if you're, if you're the Republicans, that's what Mike Johnson and Donald Trump are telling you to go out to your districts and say that, we think there's this magical fraud that somehow is just falling through the cracks and nobody's able to identify it, not even us and our DOJ. So that means you can't eat. It's it's so mind-boggling. It's stupid. It's dumb. It's dumb.
Harry Sisson, you're great. Thank you. Come back anytime. I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much. You guys can follow Harry Sisson. Thank you. You probably already follow him. He's got 2 million subscribers, 2 million followers on TikTok alone. Thank you very much, my friend. Jason, a round of applause for Harry. He's great. We like him a lot. Thank you very much. Can y'all get your mind around this? What's the fraud? Oh my God, they stole an EBT card where they could buy $1.99 mac and cheese. The horrors. And by the way, let's say they did. Let's say somebody sneaked and got themselves an EBT card. You know who benefits from that? The store. The store. Because you can't turn EBT cards into cash. Let's pay some bills. The Joy Reid Show tonight is brought to you by our new friends at 120 Life. And this is the reason that I am excited that this is our new sponsor, because high blood pressure is no joke. It is the #1 risk factor in mortality in this country. 1 in 2 adults have high blood pressure, meaning there's a 50-50 chance that you could be affected. So taking control of your blood pressure is literally critical for your health and for your longevity. You want to live long and get old and be old, folks, you need to take control of your blood pressure. 120 Life is not just for high blood pressure. It's also beneficial for people with diabetes. Managing folks with managing your high blood pressure can help with that. It can help with diabetes. So making 120 Life a tool in your overall health is a good idea. It's been endorsed by over 1,000 doctors. 120 Life is trusted by healthcare professionals, with hundreds of doctors recommending it to help manage your blood pressure naturally without a lot of junk in it. So you can see the results for yourself. You get visible, measurable changes in your blood pressure. You use a simple monitor at home to track your progress. And it's a drink that actually tastes good and that you'll enjoy. Jason and I actually gave this a try. I find it very refreshing, very flavorful. We enjoyed it. We tried it. We have a little promo. Jason, do you have the little clip? A little clip of us trying this drink for the first time. This was when we first got it. We said, let's just give it a try. So this is very quick. We're going to try to play it for you. And I think it's great. And it's 0 risk, all reward, because it comes with a risk-free 2-week guarantee. With you in 2 weeks. We're going to take it every day and we'll see how it goes.
All
right, guys. Now it's my turn to try the 120 Life. And so I got to start by putting my arm in the thing to get the thing to figure out my blood pressure. All right. So we're going to put the arm doohickey in. Okay. My arm's in. All right, here we go. 128 over 75.
That's normal.
That's pretty good. All right. So we're going to see if it stays good, gets better. It's pretty good, though. Not bad.
You gonna drink your drink?
All right. Now I'm going to try the drink. Here it is. Boom. Got my 120 life. I'm going to give it a shake. You want to shake it? This is my literal first time trying this. What's the flavor here? It doesn't say what the flavor is. All right, but to find out, you're going to have to wait to find out how it tasted, how I enjoyed it, but I'm just going to tell you, it actually tastes really good. 120 Life is formulated with ingredients shown to help control your blood pressure naturally. It's endorsed by thousands of health professionals. Thousands have benefited from 120 Life for their blood pressure. And here is what we want you guys to know. For a limited time, you can try 120 Life and get a 20% discount. Just use the code JOY, J-O-Y, if you are a lady who's trying it, or Reid, R-E-I-D, if you're a gentleman who's trying it, at checkout at 120life.com. And they've got a risk-free trial right now with a full refund. If you do not see lower numbers in 2 weeks, you can get your money back. So go to 120life.com. Use the code JOY or REID to save 20% today. There's nothing to lose except your high blood pressure numbers. So go to 120life.com. Use the code JOY or REID to save 20% off today. Remember, you got to use JOY or REID as a code to get that special offer. And I will note that these statements have not been approved by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Okay. Now I want to really quickly play for you the dumbest United States senator. I say he's the dumbest, and there are a lot of dumb ones out there, but Tommy Tuberville is the dumbest, okay? Now, on Wednesday, we played for you guys part of the exchange with Capitol Hill reporters where he was asked whether Trump could legally ignore the 22nd Amendment and be president again. And of course, because he's our dumbest senator, Tommy Tuberville basically said, yeah, sure. I mean, he has to look into it. Never, don't ever put Trump down. He can do anything. But there was actually more to the exchange. This is B1. I want to play you guys more of the exchange. Here it is.
On the government shutdown talk, the SNAP deadline coming up, a lot of your constituents will be affected.
Well,
by
I think Democrats are getting a little bit tight right now. It's their constituents, a lot of them that in some of these inner cities that's going to need SNAP to survive, and they're getting a lot of calls, and the pressure is going to be put on them. I think this is the biggest pressure point that we've seen in 28 days or whatever. So sooner or later they'll come to their senses and vote for the American people, but that's yet to be seen.
Senator, is it constitutional for President Trump to run for a third term? He's teasing that.
If you read the Constitution, it says it's not. But if he says he has some different circumstances that might be able to go around the Constitution, but that's up to him. We got a long way to go.
But you're open to it.
Well, I think that there's going to have to be an evaluation from President Trump's viewpoint to the Constitution. There'll be a lot of legal aspects to it. Will it happen? It's very unlikely, but don't ever close the book on President Trump.
Could you imagine one of those circumstances where he is able to run?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we got a lot more problems than that right now. So we'll let the Constitution, all the lawyers up here figure that out.
Senator, you said inner cities are getting a lot of calls on SNAP. Are you getting a lot of calls on SNAP?
A few, not as many as obviously as what's going on in some of the Democrat strongholds. But again, we got 42 million people on SNAP. I think that's the problem. There should probably be about half of that. A lot of people need to go back to work. A lot of young men that are on SNAP that should be working. But I think the evaluation of all that will come to light, and hopefully we can cut back on the expenses of the American people not working. So I think this whole thing at the end of the day is going to really open up a lot of eyes across the country about really where we're spending our money.
Are you personally concerned about the program running out of money as this stretches forward?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people, the sick, the elderly, a lot of people that need SNAP. Those people need to be taken care of. A lot of those, some of them in my state, we don't have as much as some because we're not that populated. But we need to make sure we take care of the people that actually need SNAP. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. You sure about that, Tommy? Because first of all, I object to the reporters interrupting the conversation about SNAP to ask a question that they know the answer to. The answer is the 22nd Amendment says you can't run for a third term. But they decided to waste like the whole center of that interview to get off the subject of SNAP to go back onto a subject because they already had a package that they had to deliver that quote to, and that's why they asked him that. Just to be clear, that's how the media works, okay? The SNAP question was actually the first question, so I have a problem with that. So I wanted you to see that. But let's talk about what Tommy said, because Tommy, are you sure, Tommy Tuberville, that your state of Alabama doesn't pull in all that dirty, dirty welfare SNAP money that the awful sinful blue states do? Okay, let's take a look at the rankings of the top 10 states where SNAP is there. There's New Mexico. We know it's a very impoverished, it's the poorest blue state. There's Louisiana. That is the Speaker of the House's state. Louisiana is 847,000 people on SNAP. Percentage of the population on the SNAP is 18%. The percentage that's under 50, they're under the 50% of the poverty line, 41%. It's a very, very poor state. Oregon, lots of people on it. Oklahoma, another red state, lowest state in terms of education. They got 686,000. Massachusetts, which is actually a very wealthy state, but they're a large state. And they're very efficient about letting people sign up. So they've got lots of people. West Virginia, another very, very poor state. 16% of their population is on SNAP. Pennsylvania, another very large state, very efficient at signing people up. They've got 2 million people on it. That's the largest raw number. Illinois, another large state, efficient about letting people sign up. 15% of their population is on SNAP. And 39% fall under 50% of the poverty line. But look at Alabama sitting on there. You see Alabama? He said there's only those dirty, dirty blue states that get SNAP, but he's literally, his state's in the top 10. That's weird, Tommy, because it seems like, you might be wrong about that. Let's get a little deeper into these numbers. We're going to go through a few of these slides. We're going to start with B3 because we're going to dig specifically in Alabama. This is the big sheet from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities about Alabama. All right, let's go to the first part of that sheet. It says that 752,200 Alabama residents, or 15% of the state, 1 in 7 Alabamans are on SNAP. 41 million participants in the entire country, or 12% of the U.S. population. So again, a larger percentage, we can go to B4, a larger percentage of the Alabama population is on SNAP than the percentage in the country as a whole. So basically, they over-index in people being on SNAP. In Alabama, more than 67% of SNAP participants are not able-bodied men who should be working. They are families with children. 39% are families with members who are older adults and the disabled. He did talk about the older adults and the disabled. That's only 4 in 10 of your constituents, sir. More than 35% are people who are already working, sir. These are people who work low-wage jobs in your low-wage ass state where they can't afford to eat on their salaries. Let's go to the next SNAP benefit thing about Alabama. Here it is. Most SNAP participants in Alabama have incomes below the poverty line. Do you see that there? 35% have incomes below the poverty line, 50% of the poverty line, 45%, that is the medium color square. That's incomes between 51 and 100% of the poverty line. And only 17% incomes above 100% of the poverty line. Alabama's a pretty poor state. 15.6% of Alabamans live below the poverty line. Let's go to the next slide. This is B5. There we go. Each household member, Tommy Tuberville, because you want to make it look like SNAP is this big, big, big waste of money. Each SNAP recipient in your state, Tommy, gets the equivalent of $192, not a day, not a week, a month. The total cost of SNAP in your state, Tommy Tuberville, is $192 per month per person. That is $6.31 per household per day. So your state, you're saying the meager $6.31 a day that they're supposed to live on and feed an entire family with children, you're saying we need to get control of that because that's too much spending, Tommy Tuberville. It sounds to me like you actually just don't care about the people in your state, and also you're dumb. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's move on. It is Halloween. And so we don't just want to talk about scary policies and scary Republicans. By the way, I'm not going to take credit for this. My producer Nita said this, and I'm going to repeat it. Every single member of this regime, and I would say of the Republican Party, elected Republicans, could literally just dress up as themselves for Halloween. Because they're the scariest thing in the world. They're scarier than any zombie or witch or warlock. They are the scariest thing because they actually seem to despise the poor and worship and love the rich. And that is actually evil. The fact that they would refuse to let people get their SNAP benefits and eat and get the little meager $6 a freaking day that a whole family has to eat them. That's what SNAP is, y'all. If you think that there's massive fraud for people to score $6 a day so they can afford 99-cent mac and cheese, then I don't know what to tell you. But let's move on. Let's talk about something that is related to this holiday, and that is zombies. Because they are the other sort of scary thing we talk about. But let's talk about zombies. I think it's a fun question. Where do zombies actually come from? This is a fun picture, courtesy of alamy.com, of some zombies. But where do they come from? Now, if you guessed the idea of zombies came from Haiti, you would be correct. But there is so much more to it than that. The zombie genre has enriched many a Hollywood non-Haitian, and almost always without either attribution or real understanding of the history or the notion of the Walking Dead or the rituals like voodoo. There's just no understanding of the real rituals, so they just kind of make up their own thing. But the idea of zombies, the idea of the Walking Dead has captivated our minds from TV shows to Hollywood, and not just on Halloween. Well, tonight, joining me to discuss all things zombies is Haitian-American author Jenna Crisfonti. And she's going to discuss her novel, Talc, a Haitian zombie story.
Hi,
hello. It's so good to meet you. Thank you so much for being here, Jenna.
Absolutely. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. As you can see, my costume today, I was a Dora Milaje. I had a whole outfit on. Y'all can go on my social media. You can see my whole outfit. My youngest son said I look like somebody auntie, but that's okay. I don't care. I'm Auntie Wakanda on today. But let's talk about, before we get to your novel, I want to talk a little bit about you. You have a fascinating story. You were born in Haiti. You grew up in New York. Your parents were Haitian immigrants that had prospered under the Duvalier regime, Papa Doc and Baby Doc Duvalier. But your family had this like huge reversal of fortune. Talk about that. What was that reversal of fortune?
Well, and it's not just for me, right? We're talking about all of Haiti. So right now, with this regime in the United States, for me, being Haitian, understanding so closely for Haitian people what a coup d'etat actually means and what it actually looks like. It's the first time my whole life in the United States I felt like this. I've been in a coup d'etat within the 50 states. This is it's scary. Honestly, on this Halloween day, it is scary.
Yeah.
But what it means specifically is, and it's not just me, Jenna, or the Crisfonti family, my mother's family, but Haitian people came because of the coup d'etats, because of the terrorist abuse of violence, and the way that the government would treat its citizens. So it wasn't just my family. A lot of Haitian people came. And if you look at how the Duvalier regime fell in 1986, my family arrived in 1981. So why is that, right? One example that I would point to, people don't want to talk about these facts about immigrants, but so many of the Haitian doctors who were in Haiti, I mean, there was a time, the number is not today true, but there was a time, I think it was like 1995, 1996, we'd have to find the data, half the Black doctors in Brooklyn were Haitian. So that meant so many of the professionals who were in Haiti, they left Haiti and they came to Miami, they came to New York. But at one time, half of the Black doctors who were served, because they say immigrants, when they come, they just take and they take and they take. That's not always the case. So many of, the physicians, the nurses, the home health care workers who are actually serving people on a daily basis. And again, going back to immigrants, doing the jobs that other people don't want to do. So when you think of, Haitian immigrants working in communities who back then, especially when you think of the 80s when my family arrived, HIV and AIDS, first of all, they didn't have the term AIDS. It was called HIV. And, people don't realize this, but with the Bush administration and the American Red Cross, they literally blamed, heroin addicts, hemophiliacs, homosexuals, and Haitians as the cause of HIV. That was official U.S. governmental policy in the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, and this would be the Reagan-Bush administration, because Reagan wouldn't even use the word AIDS and HIV. He wouldn't even talk about it. But as you said, demonizing Haitian people was like, that was sort of the way things operate. I mean, you were beaten up as a kid because of this.
Absolutely. So when I saw during Trump's campaign election last summer, and he was saying that all Haitian people eat dogs and all Haitian people eat cats, and I said, my God, they closed the schools. They literally told the Haitian kids in Ohio and other parts of the country where they had strong Haitian immigrant communities, don't go to school because you're going to get beat up. And I promise you, Joy, it felt like I was 11 years old again, because it is real. When U.S. governmental officials, they say things that are, defamatory, absolutely untrue, aren't based on any sort of knowledge of the communities or healthcare or science, just basic 101 science. And then they subject kids to real violence, genuine violence. It was heartbreaking because, you know, Edith Donkika, she's probably one of the most prominent Haitian American writers. She writes about that too, and she's older than I am, so it wasn't just my 1 year. There was a thing where really Haitian kids, especially here in New York City, you know, some Haitian kids. I mean, my last name is, you know, Crisfont in French, but some of the Haitian kids just lied. They would just not tell. So the kids who had like names like last names like Mark or Joseph, they would just say, "Oh, I'm American." They would lie because the Haitian kids were being so attacked.
And I want to play something for you because this was something that has not gone away. To your point, J.D. Vance, who attacked his own state's Haitian community, who had enriched Springfield, Ohio. They'd begged for these immigrants to come because they had labor shortages. These Haitian migrants came to Springfield, enriched the community. The people there loved them because they were filling jobs, opening restaurants. You know, there were factory jobs that needed, et cetera. He lied about them. And by the way, he's still lying. I want to play a recent interview. This is an interview literally last week. This is C3 Jason, where J.D. Vance continues this lie and adds to it and builds on it.
This was, if you remember, the big controversy about all of the migrants who came into Haiti. You know, 20,000 immigrants, Haitian migrants, in a town of 40,000 people. So you blink your eyes in Springfield, Ohio, and you wake up, and literally a third of the population of your town is now Haitian immigrants.
And eating cats and dogs.
Eating cats and dogs. Now, Biden paroled those immigrants. And what did that mean? Those immigrants were now able, even if they didn't have kids, all of them were able to access housing benefits.
I'll just let you respond.
So here's the first thing. Having grown up in New York City, but then I attended University of Buffalo, you know, when you think about places in Ohio, parts of Michigan, parts of upstate New York, what we call, you know, the Rust Belt, that were formerly extraordinarily wealthy, extraordinarily prosperous, but then had a serious economic decline after the 70s. And it's the same. You go over and over and over to all of these formerly prosperous industrial cities. So many people have left, and the cities themselves are abandoned. And so many of the kids who are local leave. The first thing they want to do is fly and leave and go somewhere else. So you go in there, and I remember I saw that, you know, the immigrant kids who would, like for myself, we would come up to the University of Buffalo, and I'll just speak from my own experience. I loved it. I was grateful. The only word I can use is I was genuinely grateful. I love the University of Buffalo, and I know people criticize Buffalo. They criticize the smaller towns, but I loved it. I was genuinely grateful because it was a warm and welcoming community. And just that, my brother went there, my sister went there. We all had jobs there. And, you know, just our contribution to Buffalo that was struggling to maintain, you know, its own educational community, its own workforce community. And, you know, for J.D. Vance to say that we were paroled is absolutely a lie. That is not true. That is not true.
He wants people to sound like criminals, and parole sounds criminal. And the fact that he's laughing along at this continuing defamation of these people, I wish they would do a class action lawsuit against him for defamation. He is a vile human being. I will just say that. That's me, not you.
The other thing is this, but it's not just that. It just shows that, because this is the other part I think that makes certain people very uncomfortable. People don't want to realize this, or they don't know this, is that just because you don't understand something doesn't mean other people cannot. So here's what he doesn't understand. Haiti, just based on its location, most Haitian people in Haiti, you know, are polyglots, just based on geography. Because when the Haitian government falls, as it's fallen so many times, what happens, and this is, I'm even going like my grandfather's generation, you know, Haitian immigrants used to go back and forth between Cuba. So if you go to the wealthiest Haitian person in Haiti, and even to the person who's, again, working as a day laborer, going into the Dominican Republic, cutting mangoes for the day, or cutting sugarcane for the day, or a woman who's going in working at local hotels or doing, you know, residential housekeeping for the day, they're all speaking in Spanish.
Yeah.
No one speaks Haitian Creole but us. So when we have to go, and I'm not joking, like if you look at, you know, what was it, the 2016 Olympics in Brazil, you know, they could not find enough labor. They brought in Haitian laborers. And I promise you, there are videos you go up on YouTube, Haitian people speaking Portuguese. And then, you know, the Brazilians, how did you learn Portuguese? We figured it out.
Yeah.
It is part of Haitian history that we have to survive. And if it's a question between a Haitian person starving, or we have to learn English, and we have to learn Spanish, and we have to learn Portuguese, or whatever it is that we have to learn, that is actual Haitian history. And the fact that he would say we're paroled is an absolute lie.
Yeah, and also Haitians are who gave you New Orleans, America. You're
Yes,
welcome. And also the entire Western United States. It was because of the Haitian Revolution. We can
yes,
get
so
into that another time. But
yes,
I want to let you talk about voodoo because it is Halloween,
yes,
and you have a great new book that brings in this incredible history of voodoo and hate and zombies. Where does the history and the story of zombies? Where does that come from?
well, originally, when I'll compare it to the American understanding of it, because like to say where it's sort of like where does border start, right? I can't say
Yeah.
that, but I can say where the American understanding starts. Most Americans would look at Romero's film from the 1950s or 1960s. Before that, but where it really comes from in the American understanding, because again, the idea of zombies, you can find accounts of that 5,000 years ago in Chinese literature or history. So I'm not using that, but American soldiers served in Haiti during the U.S. military occupation of Haiti between 1915 and 1934. When they came home, and when we watch Forrest Gump or Apocalypse Now and other
Yep.
movies where Americans are in this other country and then they come back with stories. American soldiers came back with stories about zombies, and that came from Haiti. It was a collapsed state, a fallen government, and these people wandering around in the street acting in ways that they had never seen before. What was that? And in Haiti, Haitian people themselves called them zombies. So when American soldiers came back from their military service in Haiti, they started calling it zombies, and they started writing about what they had seen, what they had experienced, and then building on the stories and the tales and so forth and so forth.
And so tell me how these stories are woven into your book, Talc. What will we get from this book? It sounds like an exciting read. Talk about it.
Sure. So I think the biggest difference between an American understanding of zombies and a Haitian understanding of zombies is that, Americans see them as fiction. Haitian people who grew up in Haiti, I'm specifying, Haitian people who grew up in Haiti. So if you ask a Haitian person who really grew up in Haiti, have you ever seen a zombie? Yes, me, I saw one. I saw a zombie. Yes, I saw one. And this is where it changes, because in American understanding, if TV, movies, comic books, whatever, it's fiction. But if you ask a Haitian person, have you seen a zombie? Yes, I saw one. And it becomes this whole thing unto itself. So that's where my story changes. Well, why is that? Because it's not just a region of Haiti, a city in Haiti. It's not an education. So I've met Haitian people who hold PhDs, Haitian people who are illiterate. Yes, me, I saw one. And I'm like, hey, why is that? Why is that all Haitian people who grew up on the island of Haiti attest to the fact that they had seen a zombie? The answer I would give to that is, and this is derogatory, but this is still New York City, the way New Yorkers speak. There is a certain way that people behave on New York City subways. And again, they don't know the person. They don't know anything about what happened to them. They have nothing. No evidence. Not just that, no evidence. But a New Yorker will see someone acting a certain way and be like, a crackhead.
Right.
Very New York. Even if they don't say it out loud, they will think, what a crackhead. Now, here's what I would say, and where my book goes is, if you were to take the people that New Yorkers would see on the street or on the subway somewhere, and you fly those people and drop them off in Haiti, a Haitian person would call that person a zombie. Why? So that's what my book is looking at. It's looking at what happened. So it's not this fictionalized tale of magic per se, because again, if I were to give you, Joy, a sandwich and put poison in your sandwich, that's not magic. That's poisoning. That's science. That's not this whimsical tale of magic and casting spells. And outside of the context of voodoo, voodoo is a religion going back to Benin, going back to Togo, West Africa, connecting us, before our enslavement, to the spirits in our land, and who we are and what we have been through and who we will be. But more than that, I'm looking at it from both sides. Is it the religious part? Is it the scientific part? Having grown up here in New York City, we know there's a thing about poison. And the example I would give to that is, when we grew up here, we knew, the Black community loved talc, Johnson talcum powder. That used to be part of our experience in Haiti, here in the United States too. The Black, I don't know if you remember this. The Black girl showing up with baby powder.
Oh no, we'll be covered in before we realized that Johnson & Johnson was killing us. Yes. We were covering our children in powder. I can tell you, they were covered in powder.
That's why the book is called Talc. The book is called Talc because, now Johnson & Johnson's pulled that talcum powder off of the shelves because it's been proven to be carcinogenic.
It's poisoned. Yeah.
It's carcinogenic, and the lawsuits have been over $1 billion. They've been forced, ordered to pay over $1 billion in compensation. But my book looks at what happened 200 years ago. What were people going through? So it's looking at the scientific part, it's looking at the spiritual part, and trying to understand as a society, why is it in the year 2025, most Haitian people who grew up in Haiti, again, I say grew up in Haiti because it's different when you grow up somewhere else, but they'll say zombies are real, and they'll give you examples. So my book looks at, both sides, the spiritual side, the scientific side, and just where we are today.
I mean, and look, this is a part of, I think, a lot of cultures that are closer to indigenous, right? And one of the things I do love about Haitian culture is that it still reflects its indigenous roots on the continent, right? It's a very African culture, which is why when you go to New Orleans, that culture feels very African centric, very centered on sort of African diasporic behaviors and ideas. And some of those include ghosts and hauntings and spirits. And so do you feel that is undervalued in terms of people? Well, let me put it this way. Do people, in your view, African Americans specifically, enough embrace and understand our connection to the Haitian people, because Haitian people are perhaps our most African diaspora, part of the diaspora?
Whoa, that's a tough question, because historically, I mean, I'll be very honest with you, Joe. I wish we were closer.
Yeah.
I wish we were closer. I think now with my daughter's generation, my daughter, she's just starting grad university. So it's a different generation from my daughter. She grew up here. I mean, I grew up here, but it's different for her generation.
Yeah.
I wish that not just, Haitian and African American, I wish all of us were closer.
Oh yeah, all the Caribbean islands. The one thing people need to understand about the Caribbean, they're all in competition. There's not like a bond. The Anglophone and the Francophone fight each other as if they are, it was better to be enslaved by the English speaking people than the French speaking people I even think about Dominicans versus Haitians. It makes no sense. You were just you're on the same. You literally were enslaved by just different flavors of the same thing.
If you look at, Trujillo, the former dictator of Dominican Republic, his own grandmother was Haitian.
Right.
And, he sponsored a massacre against Haitians. So there's this thing where everyone's trying to, be this or be something else or to represent. I don't know where it comes from, but my heart's desire is that we would all understand and see each other in each other. But to go back to your question about the spirituality, what I would say is this, going back to what they say, energy can either be created or destroyed, right? I would say love is a form of energy. I would say hate is a form of energy. When you see pictures of, a woman who's tiny, 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 and her child is stuck under a car and she picks this thing up, that's the energy of love. And, right now, unfortunately, what we see right now in the United States across so many different parts, to me, that's a spirit of energy. In the best sense, I would say, when religion is doing the right thing, is bringing people together in the spirit of love. And I would say in the Vodou tradition, to use love to bring us together right now, I would say just to remember that we're all working and we're all living together. We're all striving for better things together. And I would evoke the spirit of love right now.
Well, Jenna, let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a zombie?
No. I grew up by Flatbush and Kings Highway. There were no zombies.
Oh, so you didn't see one in New York. I mean, but look, you might see one. You might have, like you said, you might have mistaken for a crackhead in the 80s.
I know, but
you never know.
It's different. It's different when you're in hate. Because again, that's what my book looks at. But because remember, there were a huge amount of corporate pharmaceutical testing of different drugs on Black communities in the United States, in Puerto Rico, in Haiti, and all these things. So that's what my book looks at. Like, why is it that there were these groups of people who are obviously under the influence of drugs? But going back to Haiti, we killed our slave masters. That's the history of Haiti. We really did. And I
killed them and made them leave. I mean, this is the thing I think is so heroic about Haiti, Toussaint Louverture, and that revolution, it shook the United States in a way that I don't think the United States ever recovered from. The terror at having that happen here it provoked a lot of really horrific policies against enslaved people, including making sure that they couldn't read or gather to make sure, because they were so fearful that what Toussaint Louverture and the other Haitian revolutionaries did there, they would do here. And the idea of revolution, I mean, this was the first free Black republic. It's actually an heroic story. My exit question to you before we let you go, How similar, when you think about or talk to your family about the Duvaliers, Baby Doc and Papa Doc Duvalier, do you see Trump as similar to them? I mean, enriching himself, cruelty toward people and toward his enemies. Is he a Duvalier sort of figure?
Absolutely. And the saddest part about that, and Michelle, if you Google Michelle Bennett, I mean, it's spelled in English, right? Bennett, Michelle Bennett, but it's in Creole or French, you say Bennett. She was the former First Lady of Haiti. And, when they left and basically kicked out in 1986, overthrown, they took everything out of the Haitian national coffers. They took it all. And you know what's sad? She tries to go back to Haiti. She wants to belong somewhere. But instead of stealing the money that literally was there to feed the Haitian people, they stole it. And what did she do? She went to France to go to parties with uselessness. And now where is she? Where is she? Where are her kids? I don't know. And I think it's sad that the United States is so wealthy and then they would take this money and waste it to do what? I don't know what they're going to do. Where do they think they're going to go? You know what it's like, honestly, Joy? It's like the people who stole the things out of the Louvre Museum. Where are you going to go with this? No one's buying. Anyone worth their salt is not going to buy what you just stole.
Yeah. Jenna, Trump is going to have a golden ballroom and a Führer bunker.
No, who's worth their salt is really going to go there? No, that's not my question to you.
Indeed.
But maybe we'll send some zombies next Halloween.
Perhaps he is a zombie. We shall see. Jenna Crispinti, the book is called Talc. It is available in the store. If you go to store or shop.joyannreid.com or shop.joyreid.com, you can get a copy of this book. It is a good read, and it is a good time to read it because it is Halloween. Woo. Thank you so much, Jenna. Thank you for being here. Cheers. All right, y'all, there it is. Maybe some applause for Jenna. She's great. And the reality is that Hollywood has enriched itself off these stories of zombies. That is a Haitian ancestral story that, as Jenna said, people believe it there, but they're not the ones making the big money off of The Walking Dead and all these other series. And one would think that maybe they would perhaps benefit from it a little bit more. Coming up in the second hour of the Joy Reid Show. And by the way, if you want to get that book now, this will be a time to do it. If you do it before midnight, you can actually get that discount. And all you have to do is put in Nightmare 25. If you put in Nightmare 25, you don't have to put in all caps, but if you write Nightmare 25, you can actually get a copy of Talc for 25% off. That is until midnight. So coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk about, speaking of scary things, the absolute bloodbath that has taken place at Paramount, CBS, and really at other media outlets. It is a very particular kind of firing spree inside the media. We're seeing, as I mentioned before, lots of companies shedding workers and actually seeing their stock prices go up. One of the things you guys have to understand, when these companies fire a lot of people, it actually makes their stock price go up because stockholders see the reduction in workforce as a benefit to the stock price. And when the stock price goes up, guess who makes money? The CEO. Because unlike the olden days and like the 1950s, when CEOs were paid a salary, just like their workers, CEOs are now largely paid in stock. So they will do, frankly, anything to make the stock go up because that is how their compensation goes up. Their stock goes up and down depending on the stock price because that is the way they're paid in the modern era. They're not paid a salary like their workers. And it used to be that people in the CEO suite were making maybe 4 or 5 times the average worker in their businesses. Now it's like 400 or 500 times what their average worker makes. You have places like Amazon.com where the workers, or Walmart, where the family are billionaires, but the workers are making minimum wage. And then where they prevent them from unionizing so they can't get more money. We are living in that kind of stratified society. It is a zombie-like society where the super rich and billionaires expect all of the rest of us to behave like zombies, to just drone into work every day for pittance of money while they make unlimited wealth. And now, thanks to Donald Trump and the big ugly bill, that wealth will be almost untaxed, if not completely untaxed. And I'm going to say it again. I've said it before and I'll say it again. That bill took $800 billion out of Medicaid, the big ugly bill, in order to try to fill the hole left by the initially $4.7 trillion plus another $1.7 trillion tax cut. So the tax cut that we're never going to be able to fill the hole fully, they were desperate to find some money to make that look like it cost a little less. Put that thing back up. When they passed that joint in 2017, it was a $4.5 trillion bill when it was temporary. The two things on the ends were both meant to be temporary. They said, don't worry, the $4.5 trillion, but it's going to expire in 10 years. And then the Obamacare subsidies, they said, we're going to spend a little money to help let the federal government help people get their health care. But don't worry, it's going to expire in 10 years. Both those things were set to expire, but only one was allowed to expire. The thing in the middle is them saying, I'm sorry, the middle, I'm sorry, was the original. The 1.9 trillion was when they first did it. So the two, the yellow and the blue, were both temporary. The 1.9 trillion, they said, don't worry, it's only 1.9 trillion. It's temporary. It's only a 10-year tax cut. It's going to cost you 1.9 trillion. It's fine. But the yellow, they were allowed to make it permanent, and now it costs 4.5 trillion. You're going to pay 4.5 trillion to make that permanent, but the little blue guy, they're like, that's too much money. That's too much money. We can't afford that. All right, welcome to hour 2 of the Joy Reid Show. It's been a weird week for the media, a very weird week. And MAGA media is making it clear that their ethos in this era is no blacks allowed. That they think DEI means get rid of all the blacks. Vibe is merging with Rolling Stone. And of course, black journalists are the ones taking the biggest L's. This story at feminegra.com is talking about the fact that the journalists who are getting laid off in this merger between Rolling Stone and Vibe, it's mostly the black journalists that are losing their jobs. Meanwhile, the Nepo billionaire who owns Paramount and his MAGA Substack princess are literally laying waste to Paramount CBS. And according to at least one producer on the streaming side of that network who posted on their social media, everyone in their particular team that's getting laid off is black, while the white producers are getting new assignments. So they're reassigning the white producers per this person. Now, we have not independently verified this, but a second producer kind of did when they posted on their TikTok. This gentleman posted on his TikTok, and we've reached out to him to try to see if we can get him on the show, said that that's what happened in his department too. And it isn't all black people that are losing their jobs. John Dickerson is apparently leaving the network. He's a white guy, but he's apparently also leaving. But it is a complete bloodbath, y'all. The entire CBS Saturday morning team has been, they're ending that show. So co-anchors Michelle Miller, Dana Jacobson, and the show's executive producer, Brian Applegate, all have been informed that they're on their way out. This is according to the New York Post, part of MAGA Barry Weiss's master plan to make CBS into a proper Trump and Israel propaganda farm. Now, there was initial reporting that Gayle King was out. Variety carried it. Lots of people carried it. Our sources internally are telling us that she's not leaving, that she may be in a different role, but that Gayle is going to still be there. But just the fact that this made it all the way to Variety, the idea that Gayle even could be in jeopardy, it's a theme, right? There's also rumors that MAGA Barry might elevate Brett Baier of Fox News if they can convince him to come away from Fox, and I put news in scare quotes, to bring him over to maybe helm their nightly news program on CBS. Or maybe elevate Tony Dokoupil to, I guess, reward him for basically calling Ta-Nehisi Coates a terrorist, for daring to be empathetic to Palestinians, which is apparently not allowed at CBS anymore. I did a scroll through their homepage, and trust me, it's starting to look like the Jerusalem Post. And I promise you, Barry Weiss will not allow any stories on there that are critical of Israel or that are too friendly toward Palestinians or that even talk about their lives or their deaths. It's not going to happen. I mean, pretty soon we're getting to the point where we're just going to have like 3 major networks, like in the good old days, except each will be owned by a different oligarch family. Murdochs will own one, the Ellisons will own one, Jeff Bezos will own another one, and they'll just split up all the traditional media and the social media, and they'll just own them all. It'll be all oligarch firms. And weirdly enough, they'll all be pro-MAGA. They'll all be conservative, and they'll all be very reluctant to hire blacks because they think DEI means black people. They're all going to say, you know what? We're going to try to be, quote unquote, fair to the Trumpenführer. He's got to be treated fairly, which means it's going to be pro-Trump. I'm sorry about CBS. I'm sad about it. I loved 60 Minutes. I thought CBS was it is considered the Tiffany network for a reason. It's a gold standard. Not anymore. I would be very dubious about anything that was on CBS, to be honest. And the Washington Post is still doing work, but it's getting to the point where the oligarchs are going to start to shape the coverage. I also, by the way, I want to note one of the other stories that's happening here. Donald Trump is going to be in his little bunker, probably now watching CBS News. He'll be excited that he can, go back to watching CBS because that's going to be basically nice to him because, he is a child. And so he wants the media to all be his friend and be nice to him and say nice things. And this is what Barry Weiss wants to do. Right. Let me know in another piece of news here that one of the people he won't be chilling with, Trump loves the royals, but one royal that he's not going to be hanging out with in his Epstein ballroom is going to be Prince Andrew. He's been literally booted out of his royal residence. Am I the only person that didn't remember that he was married to Fergie, Duchess Ferguson. I don't know how I forgot about that. Talk about a nightmare. You all let me know when our wonderful guest is here. Oh, let's bring in Teray. Joining me now is our friend Teray, one of our favorites. There he is. Hey Teray, how you doing?
Good. I thought we were starting in 5 minutes, but I'm glad I logged in.
I know, exactly. You got here early,
timing.
perfect time. And I said, you know what? Let's bring him in early because I have more things to talk about. Teray, I am very interested to hear what you make of what's happened at CBS, because we know that Bari White. Can I just show y'all the morning team? This is D6. There they are. They're no longer going to be there. It does seem that being Black at CBS is not a growth opportunity in this moment. So,
Wait, could you show them the Trey Sherman video that you TikToked yesterday?
we don't have it yet because I want to make sure I get permission from him before I play it back, because we're trying to actually book him. Because yes,
Beautiful.
talk about Trey Sherman, because that is the gentleman that I mentioned. Please go for it.
I mean, this is part of the start of our understanding of what's going on inside there, that this young brother who's a producer said his team was dissolved, or the show that he was on was killed, and all the white people were reassigned to other parts of the company, other shows, and all the Black people were sent home. They were all fired. And look, I'm not surprised that Barry Weiss walked into CBS and said, "Where's all the Black people? Okay, y'all get out."
Right.
I mean, this is part of, they feared race-based hiring. Now we have race-based firing, right? And just the right's general rejection of us in the workforce, the notion that we are all DEI hires, we are all lesser than the potential white replacement, is part of this. And the notion that she can just assume that all the Black people don't deserve to be there is kind of disgusting. But this flows out of the notion of, if I see a Black pilot, I'm nervous. If I see a Black doctor, I'm nervous. Who knows? DEI could have gotten them into that position. This week, I heard them just openly dissing Karine Jean-Pierre. Obviously, she is lesser than Caroline Levitt. Like, obviously, she's
Clearly.
a DEI. I mean, we're just going full racist on assuming that the Black people do not deserve their positions.
And meanwhile, Barry Weiss has literally zero qualifications to run CBS News. She has never worked in television. She was at the New York Times, but she left in a huff because she was saying that people were anti-Semitic, because basically her coworkers couldn't stand her. And she thought that it was anti-Semitic to dislike her. She is somebody who said that Brett Kavanaugh people were just being a little bit too extra, saying that because he was accused of sexual molestation or sexual attack against a schoolmate, you're just taking it too far, that women were taking it too far on claims of sexual harassment and they shouldn't be so soft about it. She's somebody who basically said that DEI must be completely eliminated. And she has said that anyone who thinks that Palestinians shouldn't be bombed with 2,000-pound bombs work for Qatar. Somebody let her know Qatar is Donald Trump's new best friend and gave him a supposedly free plane that we have to pay for, and that they are now doing a base that we're going to have our military co-train with them. So they're our friend now, Barry. Catch up on your Trumpism since you're Donald Trump's best boo, because he likes Qatar now. But she says they all work for Qatar. They don't really care about the Palestinians. They're not even really starving. They're just on Ozempic. They're just skinny because they're not eating. It's like, dude, you don't believe the genocide is real, but the ICC said it was? That who was running it. She is what they claim DEI is, an unqualified substacker. And I'm a substacker, so I like Substack. That lady has no business running CBS News. Sorry.
She was a writer at the New York Times, not even an editor, not even a leader.
Never. She's never run a newsroom, Teray. She's never run a newsroom. And now she's in charge of the people who run 60 Minutes.
That's frightening, because 60 Minutes is such an important journalistic institution. But this is part of, the removal of DEI, right? So harder for Black people to get those sort of middle class, upper middle class jobs, right? They attacked affirmative action. So colleges should not be using rate, right? So the number of Black people going into colleges is way down. So it's just like, how can we push them, Blacks, out of the middle class jobs and the pipeline to the middle class through the colleges? this is how we do it, because of course these spots are designed for white people. They are deserved by white people. I think part of the core theory of racism in America is that we are physically superior to them. We are better dancers, singers, athletes, but we are intellectually inferior to them, right? So we can't be thought of as more intelligent, and character, forget about it, right? We're lazy. We're not hardworking. So this is where you get into, like, you know, you can love Beyonce and go to her show and like enjoy that, but then also think like, well, obviously we can't have any black people in the C-suite. We can't have any black people as senior producers. I mean, you know, and this is not even behind the scenes. I don't know what's going on, but I think our girl Gayle King is being edged out, either edged out of the morning show or edged out of CBS altogether. I see reports saying Gayle's out, but then you see Gayle walking out the building like, I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know where we are with that.
But she weirdly seemed to feel like it was, we don't know what's happening with it. I had a source that said that she's not out, but that we don't know if her position is going to change. But she felt the need to like post that like friendly photo with a Fox person. It's like everyone is sort of seeming to try to adjust their branding to be more Trump friendly. Like you can see that happening throughout the media, where people feel like they need to stand closer to Trump in order to survive. And if Gayle King has to do that, then we're all in trouble.
I can't imagine Gayle actually doing that, signaling that I'm going to be a little more Trump friendly. I mean,
she went to space with was it with Bezos?
I don't know. I would think Gayle of all people would be like, I am leaving rather than do this, right? We saw, who was it? John Dickerson said, I am leaving CBS.
That's right.
Rather than participate in this. And I think we will see people of high integrity, and not saying people who stay don't have high integrity, but certain people of high integrity will say, this pattern at Paramount, this pattern at ABC, wherever, I can't be down with this. I can't look at myself and say I participated in this, and they're going to walk away.
The thing is so sort of infuriating is that you have people like Bari Weiss, who keeps on, she sort of got famous on the right by making the claim that wokeness and DEI were destructive to America's future, right? And that people who were too sensitive about things like sexual harassment or about the charges against Kavanaugh, that though she herself, I believe, is a lesbian woman, but that minorities who asserted their rights and wanted to assert equality, they were the problem. Not the inequality, but the assertion of just putting your hand up and saying, hey, this is inequality, that's the problem. She's now taking that ethos. She built her whole Substack around that. And they have now essentially merged her Substack. Her own sister, I think, got like an exclusive at CBS. You know, it's all the Trump things where like the siblings get like hooked up, and her ideology is now the prevailing ideology. It must be. You cannot you cannot part from her ideology if you work at CBS. That's frightening for me, but I think it's going to happen to every major media company.
This is not the way that a news operation is supposed to be run, right? I mean, like, the place that we were at together, the guy at the top, love him or hate him, whatever, his ideology did not filter down to us. He did not tell us what to think or do. And you and I might disagree on a given day, or Chris Hayes might go, well, I see it a little bit differently. I mean, we were all progressive, so we were all somewhat similar, but nobody was telling us what to think, as opposed to, we know over at Fox, they were told, this is what we're talking about. This is the language we're using. And they would say the same things and make the same points and not dissent. And that came down from the top. That's not the way it's supposed to be. The leader is not supposed to be telling you what to think, especially in a situation where it's like, you're not like thinking like, you know, on Earth One, as Joy Reid loves to say, right? They are saying like, we're going to function on Earth Two. And like, some of the folks got to be like, but you know, it's not real over here, right? Like, so we're doing the Harlem Globetrotters. We're not doing real basketball. We're doing, okay, all right, we're doing it. But the one thing with Barry too, I see her as similar to Riley Gaines and Kyle Rittenhouse and some other folks who, when they have this conflagration with the left and then they have a grievance and a victimhood, that propels them to stardom on the right. So she becomes this big name when she rebukes the New York Times and is famous for standing up and walking away from this lefty bastion, just as Kyle stood up to the left and shot people in the streets and fucking where they were in the up, but and like, you know, Riley Gaines was wronged by a trans woman, even though there were 4 cis people ahead of her already. Like, you weren't wronged by a trans person. You would have lost that race by not on the podium, even if the trans woman was not there. But you have this fight with the left and you stand up for yourself. And then the right is like, oh, we love her. We love him. Welcome him. Take her. I mean, you know, she's a cause celeb because she stood up to the New York Times.
Yeah, but your Substack is really great. It's called Culture Fries. You should all subscribe to it. But what do you make of it? It seems to me that the right, rather than create popular culture of their own, what they really want most is to subsume the popular culture on the left. That they are angry that the Kennedy Center has gay people doing shows, so they just want to eat the Kennedy Center up and make it do what they want. Like, they don't seem to believe they can persuade or that they can create a culture that's as good as the culture on the left. They just want to basically smash the culture on the left, disallow it, make it illegal, shut it up, put a, you know, tie it up, tie its hands behind its back, and then take it and take DEI is something. Not, they didn't make it up, but they're like, we're not going to make up our own term for the thing we don't like. We're just going to take yours. We're going to take your critical race theory, make it into our thing. Now we're going to take the word woke. We didn't make it up, but we're going to just eat that. They just eat the things that the left makes or that regular people make, and they never make. They're like people who steal TikTok dances.
I think you see that politically also, that they are reactionary and defensive and not offensive, right? Democrats fought for decades to create a new healthcare system. Republicans have fought against the democratic healthcare system, but multiple administrations, Republican administrations, have not advanced their own healthcare idea. So there is no right-wing idea of how to do healthcare. There is a left-wing idea. They are just against our idea, but they don't have their own idea. And the same thing with culture, that they are against us culturally, but there isn't really a right-wing popular culture whatsoever. There might be a few figures here and there who like Trump, but there is no right-wing cultural apparatus the way there is this vibrant left-wing cultural apparatus. For example, the left wing got Bad Bunny hosting the Super Bowl. Fine, right? And I mean, I think it's a left wing coded notion because it's a Spanish speaking artist, right? He's from Puerto Rico, right? Not the continental United States. He is outside of the cultural norm of the vast majority of NFL fans. Fine. But what the NFL and Jay-Z are looking for is the artist who will make people who were not going to watch the game run into the living room. Well, we must see Bad Bunny. We must see Taylor Swift. I don't care about the rest of the game, but I want to see that part of the game. They asked Taylor. She said no. Bad Bunny is an amazing second or third choice after Taylor, and I don't know who else they thought of before. He creates like, oh my God, I don't care about the game, but I will watch this.
Internationally.
Right. The right tried to say, well, we will program our own. Who could they get? Their number one recording artist was Kid Rock.
No.
He's not a contemporary
They
artist.
couldn't even get Kanye. Because, you know, remember, they swiped Kanye. They couldn't even, like, make their own rapper. They were like, we'll just take Kanye and Snoop. Ha, ha.
I think Snoop took a check, right? But I don't think he's on the right. But Kanye is a great idea in that he's like, I believe your ideas. I rock with your guy, but
and I'm gonna wear a Klan suit.
But Kanye's not coming. Kid Rock is not a contemporary artist. He exists from like decades ago. Nobody even wants to, even the people on the right don't want to see this.
Like, what are his songs? Name a song. Name one song that Kid Rock.
Name 5 Kid Rock songs. You can't do it.
You can't name any. Like, wait, what?
Does he sing in
That's
English?
what they have? It's sort of sad. I would feel sorry for them if they weren't so evil. Like, I would pity them if they weren't so evil.
Well, I mean, it is kind of sad that they don't have folks who are able to sing and dance and act and like entertain. And I think there's a joy that leads, that springs to the creative impulse, right? Like you feel good in the world and you want to like sing or dance or write or create and add something to the world. And if you have hate inside you and you want to oppress people and you want to feel victimized and villainized, because please don't forget that victimization is where they start from. They feel victimized. They feel like the world's out to get them, right? Katie Miller, case in point, right? Schenk is talking about Israel, and she's like, this is an attack on Jewish people. No, it is not.
For those who are not up on this, I'm just letting you all know, Katie Miller is the human who literally married Stephen Miller, which I am shocked that a human person would not only and procreate with him. I'm actually terrified for her and of her because she did those things. But she is married to that ghoulish man on Halloween. Happy Halloween. But she now wants to be her own public figure. She's got like a website where she's trying to be like a cool right-wing influencer girl. So she gets booked on, of course, Piers Morgan. And so Piers books her, but he also books Cenk Younger from the Young Turks. And then he says something to her that is completely just about her being a liar. And she says, anti-Semitism. And he's like, anti-Semitism? I said, you're wrong and you're a liar. And she's like, you're anti-Semitic and you hate the Jewish people. And he's like, what are you talking about? And
I hate
literally
you.
melts.
I hate you. I don't hate Jewish people. I love Jewish people.
Right. He's like, I'm talking about you. And then the other person, another person, you guys have to go seek this out. Another person on the panel said, woman, what is wrong with you? He said he hates you. Where did you get anti-Semitism from what he said? And she's like, I'm leaving. It's like, okay, Katie. You're weird.
She's very weird. She's very messy. And you do hear his vocal tones and the way he talks and the way she responds when she feels, you better check your citizenship papers. That's how she talks.
Can you imagine an argument between them? I said that and they're like, they both sound the same.
I wonder though, because that sort of regimented household, like he makes all decisions. She is not to disagree with him. She is not to argue with him. We don't have an even household. She is basically a trad wife. And I don't have any intel on that. I'm just looking from the outside, but
I'm scared of both of them. I think it's good they're married to each other. It saves two other people from the problems that would ensue in having to be near either of them or to put hands on either. I think it's good that they're together. I like to keep them contained, Ture, in one evil bundle.
I know, but their evil bundle is impacting all of us.
I know. And last question for you. This notion that Department of Homeland Security feds are running around and not denying it in Halloween masks in order to torment you, the point you said about cruelty and about, victimizing people, they take glee in doing that.
I mean, there's an interesting number of emotions that we are told coming out of ICE. And there's clearly a sadistic nature to some of these people and a joy in ruining other people's lives and separating families. But we also hear tell of depression out of ICE and people feeling like Stephen Miller and them have given us an impossible task. So all the videos we see, they are not making their quotas. They couldn't possibly make their quotas. So they feel bereft, which is so sad, out of that. But then also they go into cities and people find creative ways of attacking them. I followed this one brother who was all over them with a whole community of people when they were in some mid-California city, like early on in this. And they would hundreds of people working together. They would find the hotel that they were staying at and then honk horns and yell outside the hotel all night long so they couldn't sleep. And they got people who follow them around wherever they go and blow whistles and tell people, and of course they come to New York and half of New York comes out on Canal Street and is like, get the fuck out of here. We hate you. So wherever they go, they are experiencing hatred and repression on the street.
They can't eat in Chicago. A lot of Chicago restaurants won't even let them eat there. They're just like, you can't go pee here and you can't eat here.
So, I mean, I'm sure that there's a weird mixture of this is fun beating up these immigrants because we allow people to demonize immigrants and see them as not human, even though they've been here for 20, 30 years, paying taxes, taking care of their families, being good citizens. except they just didn't finish the papers. I mean, when they are attacking people in courthouses who are literally trying to do it the right way in the legal process, I'm like, how low is that? Like I'm coming here following the rules and you're snatching me. Like I could see if you're, but we were told this was going to be bad people. This is 99% not bad people.
Yeah, it's
So
construction
what about that?
workers, people are working in the fields, working in meat packing plants, people standing at Home Depot ready to go to work. It's disgusting. Teray.
Cops, regular folks.
And American citizens and people who are military veterans, by the way. Teray, you can find him at Culture Fries. You're going to want to do that. You're going to want to subscribe. Happy Halloween. Did you dress up as anything today, by the way?
I don't like doing it. I like appreciating other people, but I don't like. Did you
Jason
dress
is
up?
cheering for you. I did. This is I just have the under part of my outfit. If you go on there it is. That was me.
Okay.
I'm Dora Milaje today. That is it. Our youngest son was like, who auntie is that?
On brand. I love that. You know, I mean, honestly, you see, now you inspire me. Like, if I had done something, I might have gotten like a yellow vest and been like, we robbed the Louvre. Like, you know what I mean? Because like, fuck the power. You stole all that shit, so fuck you. We're taking it back.
Amen, amen, amen. Teray, my friend, thank you. Happy Halloween. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. A round of applause, please, for Teray. He is great. We love him. All right, y'all, let's get into this e-block here. Just in case the ethnic cleansing plan wasn't clear enough from the videos that you've seen of the violence that is being like meted out to essentially any brown person that these ICE Gestapo people, some of them apparently in Halloween masks, can find. Here's some of that video. To Teray's point, this is the treatment they get everywhere. Remember this?
What's your name?
This is Chicago.
I work for WGN. Let them
Media
know.
employee.
I got you. Yep.
Stop. Seriously, get the fuck out.
This is the treatment they get. They deserve it. They've been damaging people's property. Can't beat that.
Wait, you guys came to the school to do this?
Going through school parking lots. So people are picking up their kids. No warrant. No warrant. Masks. How do you even know that's a Fed? This looks like a kidnapping in broad daylight. Pepperballing a priest. Pepperballing a priest. You can't beat that for trying to get into heaven. So this is what we're seeing. Now, there you go. And if that wasn't enough to make it clear that this is an ethnic cleansing regime, the regime is now removing an automatic grace period and visa extension for immigrants who have pending work permit renewals. It used to be automatic. That's a move that's going to force many in the workforce to be stuck in even worse administrative backlogs. Those work permits, they're going to end, and they used to be given out to people who are refugees, asylum seekers, dependent visa holders of H-1B workers. Those were among the applicants who used to benefit during the Biden administration from an automatic grace period, which would allow them to renew those visas. In other words, the regime is making it easier to deport hardworking legal immigrants, because this whole mass deportation thing was never about the border. It was never about security or crime. It was always about ethnic cleansing. And they're doing this while they've all but cut off the entire refugee program to anyone other than white immigrants, mainly white South Africans, of course. Oh, and the regime also deported one of Trump's own former Mar-a-Lago workers to Mexico. He literally was working for Trump, and then he got deported to Mexico. So that happened. And the regime's designated chief defender of ethnic cleansing and Hitler Youth group chat activity, J.D. Vance. So he headed to Ole Miss this week, the university that rioted in the 1960s to keep out a single black student, that Ole Miss. He went there to chat it up with the Charlie Kirk youth. So I want to play you guys a clip of him taking a question, ironically enough, from a young woman who appears to share J.D. Vance's own wife's ethnicity. This is E5. Vance being asked a question at all.
What I want to ask is, you are married to a woman who is not Christian. In her Wikipedia, I mean, I just looked that up. I wanted to know what her faith was. I didn't know this before. But she still calls herself Hindu. You are raising three kids in interracial, cultural, racial, religious household. How are you maintaining, or how are you teaching your kids not to keep your religion ahead of their mother's religion? Or how are you teaching them that your kind, they're that kind who got here just few years or few decades ago is different or is better than your mom's kind who got here just a generation before? How are you balancing that? And when you talk about too many immigrants here, when did you guys decide that number? Why did you sell us a dream? You made us spend our youth, our wealth in this country and gave us a dream. You don't owe us anything. We have worked hard for it. Then how can you, as a vice president, stand there and say that we have too many of them now and we are going to take them out to people who are here rightfully so by paying the money that you guys asked us? You gave us the path, and now how can you stop it and tell us we don't belong here anymore?
So
and one more thing, I'm sorry. One more thing.
Sure.
Do you have to
There's
be...
a lot there. I don't know if I'm going to remember all this, but I will try.
I'm sorry. I had to say all of this, and please take it with due... I mean, I'm saying all of this with due respect.
Go ahead. Please.
I have no intention of causing a scene here or anything, but...
We're not close to causing a scene, don't worry.
But we talked about Christianity, all of this. I'm not even Christian, and I'm here standing to show support. Why are we making Christianity one of the major things that you have to have in common to be one of you guys, to show that I love America just as much as you do? Why is that still a question? Why do I have to be a Christian?
So that is an interesting question. It was a long question, as the chat is saying. She had a lot to say. I think she was nervous. And so she piled all of her thoughts into one question. Okay, JD, what are your thoughts? What was his answer? Let's hear.
So there was a lot there, and I'm going to try to respond to as much of it as I can. So on the question of immigration. So first of all, I can believe that we should have lower immigration levels. But if the United States passed a law and made a promise to somebody, the United States, of course, has to honor that promise. Nobody's talking about that. I'm talking about people who came in violation of the laws of the United States of America, and I'm talking about in the future reducing the number of people. Sorry, what?
May I continue on that? Because when you just said you are not stopping with the people who came here legally, right? But you are pushing out policies that hurt us. And these policies are not even solving the problems. These policies are just creating chaos.
No, ma'am. Okay, so again, I'm gonna finish answering the question, and then if I've answered all 9 of your questions in less than 15 minutes, then we can keep on going.
Okay, JD, being an asshole, that was a choice. Any further thoughts, or maybe just like answer her questions? Let's do that.
We got to have a little fun, right? So here's the thing. I can believe that the United States should lower its levels of immigration in the future, while also respecting that there are people who have come here through lawful immigration pathways that have contributed to the country. But just because one person or 10 people or 100 people came in legally and contributed to the United States of America, does that mean that we're thereby committed to let in 1 million or 10 million or 100 million people a year in the future? No, that's not right. We cannot have, I'll go and finish. We cannot have an immigration policy where what was good for the country 50 or 60 years ago binds the country inevitably for the future. There's too many people who want to come to the United States of America, and my job as vice president is not to look out for the interests of the whole world, it's to look out for the people of the United States. Now, now, you asked a personal question about our interfaith household. And yes, my wife did not grow up Christian. I think it's fair to say that she grew up in a Hindu family, but not a particularly religious family in either direction. In fact, when I met my wife, we were both, I would consider myself an agnostic or an atheist, and that's what I think she would have considered herself as well.
You sure about that, JD? Because, you know, as I recall, during the campaign, which I did cover in my old job in cable news, Usha and you gave an interview together during the campaign, and she said something quite different than that her family.
Tell me about y'all's faith.
I had never been baptized. Even though I was raised Christian, I'd never been baptized. So I was baptized the first time in 2018, I think. It's funny, Usha was not raised Christian, is actually not Christian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I remember when I started to re-engage with my own faith, Usha was like very supportive.
Usha, why were you so supportive?
There are a few different reasons. One is that I did grow up in a religious household. My parents are Hindu, and that was one of the things that made them such good parents, that make them really very good people. And so I think I've seen the power of that in my own life. And I knew that JD was searching for something. This just felt right for him.
How do y'all merge two different faiths while still raising your children?
There are a lot of things that we just agree on, I think, especially when it comes to family life, how to raise our kids. And so I think the answer really is we just talk a lot.
So maybe you should talk to Usha again before you tell her story, because apparently you got it wrong. I've been here for 10 years, right? And I think she grew up in a very religious family, and you're the one who grew up, as the chat is saying, on food stamps. But go on, JD, please continue.
You know, everybody has to come to their own arrangement here. The way that we've come to our arrangement is she's my best friend. We talk to each other about this stuff. So we decided to raise our kids Christian. Our two oldest kids who go to school, they go to a Christian school. Our 8-year-old did his first communion about a year ago. That's the way that we have come to our arrangement. But thank you. My 8-year-old was also very proud of his first communion. Thank you, guys. I'll tell him that Ole Miss wishes him the best. But I think everybody has to have this own conversation when you're in a marriage. I mean, it's true for friends of mine who are in Protestant and Catholic marriages, friends of mine who are in, atheist and Christian marriages. You just got to talk to the only advice I can give is you just got to talk to the person that God has put you with, and you've got to make those decisions as a family unit. For us, it works out. Now, most Sundays, Usha will come with me to church. As I've told her, and I've said publicly, and I'll say now in front of 10,000 of my closest friends, do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved in by church? Yeah, I honestly do wish that, because I believe in the Christian gospel, and I hope eventually my wife comes to see it the same way. But if she doesn't, then God says everybody has free will, and so that doesn't cause a problem for me. That's something you work out with your friends, with your family, with the person that you love. Again, one of the most important Christian principles is that you respect free will. Usha's closer to the priests who baptized me than maybe I am. They talk about this stuff. My attitude is you figure this stuff out as a family, and you trust in God to have a plan, and you try to follow it as best as you can, and that's what I try to do.
So, the right is having a little bit of a freak out about JD basically saying they've been married for 10 years, and he's now announcing 10 years into their marriage with 3 kids that he hopes that she converts to Christianity. That's weird. And she talks to the priest that baptized him more than he does. So you're a Christian, but you're Christian-ish. So you don't even talk to him. You just let the lady who's Hindu talk to him. Okay, JD, why don't you go ahead and answer this lady's question on immigration, if you would, please.
I want to make a final point. So I don't want to cut you off. I want to be respectful to all the people behind you in line, but I want to make this point about immigration, okay? If you ask the question, what is the exact right number of immigrants for the United States to let in, it is just very specific on the context. If you go back to the 1920s, the United States passed an Immigration Reform Act that effectively cut down immigration to close to zero for 40 years in this country. And what happened over those 40 years? The many, many people who had come from many different foreign countries and different foreign cultures, they assimilated into American culture. And there was an expectation that they would assimilate into American culture. I think we have two problems in our immigration system today. And my guess is you're probably a slightly more leftist political persuasion, liberal political persuasion, maybe not. But here's the thing. I remember back in my establishment GOP days when I was still very early getting involved in Republican politics.
When he hated Trump.
I remember
and said he was Hitler.
A conservative think tank person who told me that one of the reasons why immigration was really good is that if you had enough diversity in a country, people would mistrust each other and they wouldn't join labor unions. Okay? So when I see a lot of left-wing people who theoretically support organized labor saying we need to flood the country with a limitless number of immigrants, they're unwilling to set any limitations on it. My response to that is you are destroying the very social trust on which American freedom and prosperity was built. And that is really important to me. So the honest answer to your question, what is the exact number of immigrants America should accept in the future? Right now, the answer is far less than we've been accepting. We have got to become a common community again, and you can't do that when you have such high numbers of immigration, which is one of the reasons why we have the immigration policy we do. Thank you.
So by the way, I did notice the chat is talking about the look-alike of J.D. Vance that's standing next to the lady who asked the question. I noticed him too. He's like a chubbier version of J.D. Vance. Very weird. Maybe that's the new uniform. They all look like him. That 1924 Immigration Act. I want to note that 1924 Immigration Act excluded all Asians from immigrating to this country and attempted to set the racial makeup of the country to where it was in 1890. That is the same Immigration Act of 1924 that Stephen Miller was very much for when he worked for Jeff Sessions. He and Jeff Sessions wanted to go back to that act, which would have not allowed Usha Vance and her parents to come to the United States because Usha Vance's parents would have been excluded. Because as JD reminds us, remember that time, Jason, that he reminded us that lady's not white? This is E12. Let's just remind her what he has said about.
I love my wife so much. I love her because she's who she is. Obviously, she's not a white person, and we've been attacked by some white supremacists over that. But I love Usha. She's such a good mom.
I love her. You know, she's not white, but I love her. He's also said things like, she's got 3 great kids that we're raising as Christians. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. The brown lady's not allowed to give the kids her religion that ain't Christian. Don't worry. We're doing that. She's not white, but I love her. He never defends her, by the way. And the 1924, the 1924 America was full of lynchings. It was not full of unity. Not a lot of unions either. And it wasn't because of immigrants. It was because effectively we had an oligarchy. But let's try another way, JD. Let's get back to that interview that we played earlier where you talked about immigrants. Let's look at that.
Who's out of the house is actually evicted from the house because there are people who are going to pay more for rent. And then what happens is 20 people move into a 3-bedroom house. 20 people from a totally different culture, totally different ways of interacting. Again, we can respect their dignity while also being angry at the Biden administration for letting that situation happen and recognizing that their next door neighbors are going to say, well, wait a second. What is going on here? I don't know these people. They don't speak the same language that I do. And because there are 20 in the house next door, it's a little bit rowdier than it was when there was just a family of 4, a family of 5. It is totally reasonable and acceptable for American citizens to look at their next door neighbors and say, I want to live next to people who I have something in common with. I don't want to live next to 4 families of strangers. And the fact that we have.
First of all, is that what you think immigration is? People moving into a 20-person house and you don't know who they are. You need to have regulation over who the people are living next door to you. That isn't your business, first of all. And second of all, if there are 20 people living in the house, it's because the economy is crap and Donald Trump has made it so no one can afford to live on their own. There are 20 people in houses because young people can't afford their rent. And that's why a whole bunch of them live in a house together. It's not because immigrants are. You know what this is giving? This is giving when Donald Trump said a quote. Let's pull E14. This is giving me something. It's giving.
Country, when they do that, we got a lot of work to do. They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just the 3 or 4 countries that we think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country, from Africa, from Asia,
What a
all over
giving.
the world. They're pouring into our country. Nobody's even looking at them. They just come in. The crime is going to be tremendous. The terrorism is going to be, and then we built a tremendous piece of the wall, and then
Yeah, that's straight out of Mein Kampf. Let's bring in Angelo Carasoni. He's the chairman and president of Media Matters for America. Angelo, J.D. Vance saying that the problem is the crowded house of 20 immigrants who speak a different language, and we have a right to be angry about that. It is definitely giving me poisoning the blood, which again is Mein Kampf talk. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, they're really leaning into the racism in a much more explicit way. There's no more dog whistles. It's front and center. And it's not just in these one-off comments and who they're appealing to. I think there's other things, right? There's a lot of imagery about it. Even what played out today, where the Heritage Foundation effectively bent the knee to Tucker Carlson for hosting Nick Fuentes. I mean, they're saying, yeah, this is great, right? There's all this. I mean, Mitch McConnell is condemning them. And I think, this all sort of does tie together because this is, and it shouldn't be a surprise, but Trump built an organized power on what used to be considered the fringes. And so it's the worst of the worst. It's not just the quiet racists that say the mean stuff at home at the table. This is now the people that are explicitly trying to reshape society based off of the horrible things that they think privately at home. And that's the type of people that they brought not just into the political process, but into power. And so when Vance says these things and Trump says these things, they're all just a keyhole view of the actual worldview that is driving not just the decision makers, but a whole host of personnel up and down the hierarchy and the policies of the country right now. And it's a sense of where we're going, unless we put in the speed bumps and the guardrails.
I mean, J.D. Vance can't even defend his wife enough in front of a crowd at Ole Miss to say that he's proud of her as a Hindu. He has to get applause by saying he hopes she converts. Like, I'm not sure why Usha's still there. Like, there's a whole conspiracy theory that he's going to trade her in for the widow Kirk. But, maybe she might decide to bounce on her own. Marriage is like, I will not speak to it. But he sure as hell doesn't defend that lady a lot.
I think that what you just said is an extremely important point, and it's not unique here to the Vance thing. There's a little bit of hesitation and fear, right, in his response to that question. He didn't want to be booed and jeered by the audience. He knows where the audience is at. And where the audience is at is in not just, the Christian nationalist side of it, but in the let's not mix our blood, let's not mix races. Right? I mean, that's a thing that would not be acceptable. He can't just get up there and say that, right? He just can't. So he has to sort of dance around it. I mean, think about how they normally communicate, right? Think about the clarity and the awfulness when they talk about immigration or non-white people, right? It's very, there's no hesitation. There's no qualifiers. There's no 30 sentences to say something you could say in 2, right? This is an easy answer. This is America. You get to have any religion you want. I love my wife. I don't know why that's a hard answer to say, right? Yeah. And I think what it is a reflection of is that he's reading the room. And the room is reflective of a larger audience that they're speaking to. And in a way, there's a little bit of fear there. Obviously, he has a political calculus, but it's that same fear that we saw drive so many coward Republicans that maybe would want to push back against Trump, but don't want to deal with the actual threats from Trump's supporters and Trump's people by even slightly running afoul and antagonizing them. And this is a weapon and a tool of their political power as well, is that they've activated the worst people.
And it is a reading the room. I mean, I have seen on social media people attack J.D. Vance for marrying outside his race, and he said that. He admitted that to Ann Coulter, or whichever that interview was, where he said, "But I love her. I mean, she's brown, but I love her." Talking about reading the room, I mean, J.D. Vance has defended a chat full of Megyn Kelly. It was on Megyn Kelly. A chat full of people who were saying they love Hitler. He defended that. He defended people in a chat that said never trust an Indian. And that is what his wife's nationality is. He seems to be very vigorous and really aggressive about defending Hitler talk. And he's the guy who used to say Trump might be Hitler. But apparently now, I guess that's considered a compliment. What do you make of the openness of so many people on the right now to being openly Nazis and saying, I love Hitler, and being Nazis to their friends, like at least to each other on group chats, touting Hitler?
It's a consequence of a few things. I mean, you have, one is the permission structure that starts with Trump, but then is rewarded and incentivized more broadly in the larger right-wing and Republican ecosystem, right? You're not going to not only get chastised for that, you'll actually get rewarded for it. Just look what's playing out with Nick Fuentes right now. His profile is increasing, right? Yeah. And the other part, and this is that there's something deeply appealing to a constituency about that message when you're trying to organize disaffected, young, middle-aged white guys, right? The more you lean into that, the more of a space you're saying, hey, you have a place here, and your place is better. At least you may be poor, but at least you're not as JD Vance, at least you're not brown, right? So that's great. I mean, that's part of it, is that it is a part of a larger strategy, and there's no consequences for it. So I think that's a core piece, and that plays into everything that they do. And, I think we talk a lot about the people in power, but, you mentioned that those chats, those are people that are political operatives at varying degrees. And those conversations aren't just isolated to those chats. We know that, right? They're all over the place. Though people just like that have positions in all throughout government that are mining the ecosystem for things that are created by, actual white nationalists, white supremacist accounts, and then reposting it through official government channels. There's a whole big thing over the summer.
Speaking of, please finish your thought. Sorry.
I was going to say, over the summer, there was a whole thing where the White House and the Department of Homeland Security took a piece of content that was created by an actual white nationalist, sort of a poster that was about reporting your neighbors to ICE, and then reposted it from the White House and the Department of Homeland Security account. Now, how does that make its way there? It's got to be through personnel and staff. Why are they why, if you're part of that bubble, at minimum, you're adjacent to it, you're getting that stuff served to you. It says a lot about who you are. And that's the types of individuals that are staffed at every level here. And so I think, to your question, it's not just about building, organizing political power. It's also the people that they're hiring and staffing at every level. And so it becomes a feedback loop.
Well, and by the way, Turning Point USA, which was hosting the event that JD Vance was at, is literally a youth organization designed to create nationalism, but it is a nationalism that is very specifically opposed to non-white immigration, a nationalism that is very specifically opposed to women's liberation, a nationalism that is very specifically opposed or very promoting of the idea of the harm that's being done to brown immigrants right now, that revels in it. The religious diktats are about harming and attacking Black folks. We just did a special yesterday with Robbie Jones, where he talked about the fact that the idea that's being pushed forward is these good things in society are for white people and no one else is to have them. And if you're a white Christian, you get more. And to your point about the government, I don't know how you expect young people to behave better than to say, I love Hitler in a group text when their government is speaking to them in this way. Jason, can you please play E15? Angelo, I found so many of these posters on the Department of Labor TikTok, Twitter page that when someone showed it to me, I didn't believe it was real. So I was like, let me go ahead. You all, these are actual posts. I went on the X Twitter page of your Department of Labor. Look at these images, guys. Look at these images. This is all that there's on there. I went through every single one. Each of these images shows a white person or family. And I was like, what is this reminding me of? It was reminding me of something. So I did a search for the way that Germany in the 1930s promoted Nazism. Because I was like, this is giving me something about it, just felt like it gave that 1930s vibe. So we're just going to go through these slides. Hopefully they'll keep going forward. I don't know, did it start over? Did it start over? It's going to keep going. Build your homeland's future. Build your homeland's future. This is what it reminded me of. I went through a wormhole, a very unpleasant wormhole yesterday. That these are the kinds of images that the Third Reich was putting out in the 1930s of the industrious, perfect young white families and young white. It's giving that. And today I went through and found a bunch of these, and I didn't even post them, that did the exact same vibe that the Soviets used to do. Putting out these pictures of these sort of perfect looking white Soviet Russians and saying, this is the future. These are the perfect families. This is the perfect, member of our community. That's what it's giving. And people on even Elon Musk's X Twitter were saying, yo, that's giving Nazism. Even they were like, that's a lie.
Yeah, it's giving racial purity. You know,
yes.
and it's not an accident, right? I mean, you know, people will complain, "Oh, you shouldn't make Nazi comparisons." Okay, we don't have to make Nazi comparisons. They're doing it, and it's not just in the posters, right? I mean, part of the message there, even at best, let's take the most charitable interpretation. I don't think it's an accident, by the way. I think that, in fact, many of the same posters that they plucked from those communities that I was referencing over the summer were explicitly saying that the White House and the administration needed to pull more posters from this World War II era, from Nazi Germany. So these were effective posters. This idea would join ICE, defend the homeland, is literally their messaging. So I don't think it's an accident, but let's give them the most charitable thing. Let's just take it in the most charitable way. They're still presenting an image of America that is, at best, highly nostalgic, and a nostalgic time where where there was a separation, where white people did have all of the power, and where people that were not white didn't have access in the same way. That is a presentation that they're trying to demonstrate. And it's not just in these visuals and in these images, it's in their policies, right? I mean, look at what they're doing with the Department of Defense. It's not an accident, the types of generals and senior leaders that are being pushed out of the administration or pushed out of they're changing the composition to look a lot more like those posters.
Pete Hegseth said diversity is not our strength. The idea that diversity of our strength is bullshit. He said that out of his mouth.
Yes. And I think that, so I don't think these posters are just like a wink and a nod to the Nazi era. They're an explicit embrace of an ideology that is built around racial politics. And Trump has long believed this, by the way, that there are deep genetic differences. These references to poisoning the blood, there is a really a core part of their belief that some people are just better based on who they are. There is not a belief fundamentally that people are created equal. They don't actually believe that.
No, I mean, he has said in the past, at least according to Michael Cohen, that he would drive through black neighborhoods and say black people weren't capable of governing themselves. It's why he thought Barack Obama shouldn't be president of the United States. He has this idea that there is good genes, pure genes, and they're bringing this idea back. One of his executive orders says that they cannot stop basically race science in schools. They want to open up these ideas about racial realism and that sort of thing. Last thing I'm going to show you is, this is E16. This has been done before. Like, there were, ad campaigns in the 80s that people were like, oh, it's a little too close. It's a little too referential. Right. This was a meat ad back in the day. And it's like, y'all, what? That ain't smart. Right. So it's not like it's a new thing that people are looking up these images and saying, we want a perfect blonde specimen in order to sell more meat.
Yeah. And look, we shouldn't be too, right. I mean, part of Americana is actually deeply tied into racism, right? When people say, oh, well, that's just old school Americana, they're not trying to be Nazis. It's like, well, actually, old school Americana is actually a racist sort of impression. It's just not as racist as the Nazis were, right? So, so it doesn't surprise me that those images are there, but the images are just a consequence of something that is much more deeply held, a deeply held belief that they're now trying to turn into practice. And that is reflected all across the board, all around us. It's the one thing that helps make sense of it all. It's not just might makes right. It's also this idea that diversity is not our strength, which I thought was fundamentally American, but that's not something, and they're working very hard to prove that.
Angelo Carasoni, always great to have you on. MediaMatters.org is where you can go to get all of the good stuff and information. They're keeping track of all of this madness, and we appreciate Angelo. Thank you very much. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. All right, y'all. I know we need it because it is Halloween. So our moment of joy tonight is a really amazing TikTok collabo from Todd and Ken. And you can follow Ken at ken.sandberg and Todd at A Gift from Todd with 2 Ds. But you guys have to enjoy this moment of joy. Here it is.
Ballroom. That ain't making sense to me. No, that ain't making sense. They're a defense contractor. What is it they're really after? It feels like a CO conspiracy. Why would Lockheed Martin build a ballroom? That ain't making sense to me. No, that don't make no sense. Rockets, they build missiles. Now it's drinks to wet your whistle. It's something sinister indeed. Oh, why would Palantir want to help build a ballroom? That ain't making making sense to me. No, that ain't making
I just
sense.
can't get down with that man. You remember that scene from Batman? They're gonna build more surveillance technology. Oh, turns out Hitler also built a ballroom.
Oh, are we surprised? Now it's making sense to me. Oh, now it's making sense.
Stuff hit the fan, that's the place that they all ran. And it turns out that Trump has the exact same plan. God damn it!
Happy Halloween, everybody. Please do follow Ken at ken.sandberg and Todd at A Gift from Todd with 2 Ds on your TikTok. Happy Halloween, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed the show. We enjoyed having you here. And foot tap we've got from Christy8347 in the chat. We appreciate all of y'all. See you all on the next. By the way, if you do want to go ahead and get that merch, you've got until midnight that you can go ahead and get yourself some merch for 25% off. Please take advantage of that opportunity. You just have to put Nightmare 25. Just think of the Millers. Think of the Millers. That's basically your nightmare. That'll scare the hell out of you. And if you're a Team TJRS member, I'm sorry, not if you're just a Team TJRS member. Anybody can get that. You guys get that all the way till midnight. Anybody that's listening right now, you can get that all the way till midnight. Get that 25% off. I hope you all have a happy and safe Halloween. If you're out there, beware of ICE. They are out there menacing people. Unfortunately, some of them are wearing masks. Just be safe. Be careful. Keep a good weather eye on your brown friends in particular, and be extra kind to them, because this is really a terrifying moment, mainly for them, but also for Black folks. It's not even just immigrants, it's U.S. citizens alike. So show a little extra love in these holiday seasons tonight, and just be really careful out there. Love y'all. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to share this episode. We don't want you to miss an episode. Hit the little like thing and the little subscribe thing, and join our Team TJRS team as well if you could. Thank y'all so much. If you post about the merch, put #wearingjoy or #readers so that we'll know that you are our fam. Love you guys. Have a good thanks. Why do I want to say Thanksgiving? Happy Halloween. See you on the next The Joy Reid Show. Good night.